Welcome guys to a new video on this channel. Today we go over the new reveals for Gear Chronicle and we will just look at how good these cards are, what the power level is in the current format and in what deck you can implement them. So we'll just go over them. What I will just do, I will just talk about them. You guys can of course read the cards yourself if you want to. You can just pause the video or just look them up and we'll just go right over it. And yeah, that's really it about it. So I will just give a sort of a first impression, what I think of the cards, and we just have to see after playtesting on how good the cards actually are. So for the reprints, these are also already being confirmed, so I will just go over them real quickly. Of course we have the Heal Guardians, then we of course have an alternative artwork for Cardfight, so Cardfight will be coming back as a reprint. And it's with a zero art, which is just really nice. Yeah, just as a reprint, of course, because Cardfight is used in many different decks. Since it's the most versatile grade 3 Lost Legends of current days. Then of course we have Lost Gear 8, which is also a really good card. Like it has some really good consistency buff to all of the decks that plays it, this card, of course, and it became a little bit expensive, I think, so really good card to reprint. And then also we have a promo, which is mostly used in the timely variaty because you can just search out as a one-off, and that's really it. So this one was sort of hard to come by for some people. I just got it to my my local game store, but for some people they didn't come in or something like that. It's also just nice to have a variety buff because the promo version is just like common. So then we go over the reveals, and we have this grade 1. This grade 1 is already quite good for the Steam main archetype, in the sense that you can search in the top 3 for Steam main add to hand. You can build deck the rest, so you can essentially sort of reverse deck if you want. You also gains a little bit of power buff and it boosts for every card in your bind zone. So in some archetypes with Steam mains it's like okay-ish. And in other decks such as the Bind deck, Mystery Flag, this can actually be a pretty huge booster, which I think really helps to elevate the deck. Especially in Premium, because in Premium you have lots of good cards, of course, that can bind, but you don't really have the elevation on the kill pressure on your opponent after you have done 1 or 2 turns. So this being a card is really good that you will easily get the bind zone filled up, of course, but the main power of this card lies in the grade 2. And for people that didn't see it yet, like the grade 2 counterpart to this card, it's in the background actually. So as you can see, here's a motorcycle, then you have the gear cat, and this is grade 2, and as you will see, then we of course have grade 2 once again, but here it has more of like a darkish red hair color, but here it's bright red. So here with the cat in the background, and this card is extremely good in my opinion, because for counterblast you can search at the grade 1, which already sort of made a little bit of a plus if you play quite a lot of Steam mains, but it can also of course be played just in Premium and timely variant, because you still have your melon which you can search out. Yes, it's not a lot of Steam mains, but let's say for example you play this Steam main and you play the melon, then you actually have 8 Steam mains you can probably try to search for. But the main power why you would play the grade 1 is because of this grade 2, because for counterblast this can search out the grade 1 and go to the same row, in the same column actually. So let's say for example you put it on the record circle early game, it's actually already a very good hidden column, because it's 80 column itself when your opponent is a grade 1. Excellent. And also for Soul Blast at the end of the battle attacked, you can check the top 2, add 1 to hand, bind the rest. So with this you can actually set up the new Slishma already, because Slishma needs already cards in the bind zone because it binds 1 and costs 2 from the bind zone. So you can sort of filter to that. Also you refill the top 2 cards, so you have more potential hitting for your great pieces. But the downside to this card is like you need to review 2 cards from the top of the deck, so your opponent will know what you will add to hand. The Soul Blast is really great cost, because Soul is like you can work around it. I think the Soul in most decks is really like the most used resource in the deck, but it's also the one that can be manipulated the most. Like Gear Chronicle really doesn't really have that much counter charge, but when compared to Soul we can easily put cards into the Soul, and so Soul Blast is quite an okay cost. The downside to this card is also like what I always found with Gear Chronicle, like you don't really have the best white targets in the sense that we have Air Cup, we have Sidejet, we have of course now this Grade 2. What I always want is either they work better on Vanguard Circle, or they aren't any good at all, or they either aren't like either on Vanguard Circle better, either you don't play them, or like it's you can ride them on Vanguard Circle, but it's only a one-time use and it's not that many impactful. Like I, for example, play Air Cup in my premium time loop deck, and it's just because I can use some of the catalysts early game. Otherwise, you don't actually do that much. But having this Grade 2 can make some use of that counterless early game, so you can actually warrant yourself not playing Air Cup anymore. But that is just what how you play this, of course. Also, this is of course meant to be in the Steam main archetype at first, but you can play this card in a bunch of decks. You can play this in Mystery Flare. You can also play it in Golden Jet if you want. Like it's not the best in that deck, but it can work out because Soul Blast 1 every single turn, get the correct cards to your hand, of course, like you have more field options. And of course this is the main use in Steam mainers because you set up the bind zone, so you already have your Steam mainers in your bind zone. Hopefully you of course can search top 3 because it's Grade 1 for Steam maidens. It's also really nice that this is actually a Steam maiden herself, so it also works with that archetype. And what also is really nice about this card, it's actually one place from anywhere, not one place from hand. So just an extra thing that can work really nice. Also the Grade 1 is one place from anywhere, also really nice. But these card combo can make a very good early game because that is something Gear Chronicle lacks. Like I played a lot of really weird cards, like one-offs essentially, and these were all focused around having the early game pressure, of course. But this can of course switch out the Grade 1. When your opponent is on Grade 1, make great numbers. If you have an Naboo set up in your Vanguard Circle, you can first attack with your Naboo, buy the cards from your drop zone, attack with your Vanguard, can pressure quite a lot because your opponent can't heal guard on the Naboo attack. And then they either need to put a 15k for a no pass or something like that, but you already have a card in your bind zone because of the Naboo. Then this count with no hit from 19. This Grade 2 goes to Grade 1. The Grade 1 gain is actually 1k, which can be huge if your opponent is on a 9k base. If they're on 10k base, then you just need to play a little bit different, or you're not really making the correct numbers, but you can either play this with it yourself. So that's really it for the Grade 1 and 2, and I think this is a really good support, but the more interesting card is actually in the Grade 4. So Gear Chronicle once again didn't get a Grade 3 as a main boss unit, now they gain a Grade 4, and how I would say or compare this to is sort of like a Nectaria, but quite different actually, which I really like, of course, because you want to have a lot of Grade 4s that you want to ride into, but this Grade 4, it's actually a defensive card. So when put the card circle, you can buy the card from the top or put the card on the bottom of your deck. So you can also search back triggers, you can buy the correct cards from the bind zone for your Steam main archetype, you can bind cards for your Misty Flare deck, so you actually gain more grades in your bind zone. Also this card binds itself from the Guardian Circle, so you actually gain more value out of it, doesn't cost any resources. Also 25k shield on her own, which is quite huge. Like if you have a Gear Chronicle deck and you have space left, you can actually just play this as your generic good card, because 25k shield is not going to sneeze back at. And then when you Vanguard as attacked, you discard a heat with you to call this to the Guardian Circle, but I don't see really that working that well, because how do you get this to drop zone? Because the most, like if you want this to go to the drop zone, you either need to discard it or something like that. That's really weird to happen, because you throw away a 25k shield, so that's just with playtesting how that will of course play out. But I mainly focus with this card on the grade, or the first skill with the 25k shield, and the third skill to bind this card after it's being retired from the Guardian Circle. Second skill, can be optional. It's nice that it is there for the flavor, but I think it's the less used out of it. So that's really it for what my impressions are. Which deck will be the most support? I will get the most support out of this whole like reveals. It will most likely be Steam Maidens in V. In Premium it will be a different story because I think Mystery Flare Turbo and of course Time Leap will gain more value out of it. And that's mainly focused because of the grade 2 and the grade 1. But this grade 4 is really like all around support. Can use in every single deck, also in Chronofight if you really want to. Like just so many different decks that you can play into it. It's just really good. So that's really it for my impressions. Comment down below if you have any questions, and I will see you guys later.